This man must be removed from power in Burkina Faso. Judge Lambert's angry voice echoed through the courtroom. All phones were recording this extraordinary moment. Mr. Ibrahim Traore, I am summoning you to court with a request for your immediate removal from office. The judge's face was red with anger. 3 days later, in the early morning hours, Traoré walked calmly into the courthouse. A security guard hurriedly approached. "Sir, there's a trap inside. The judge has prepared special documents against you." Traoré smiled. "I know. I've prepared some documents for him too." Ibrahim Traoré was wearing a simple suit instead of his usual military uniform. He had no security detail or impressive entourage with him. He was carrying only a modest briefcase. As he climbed the courthouse steps, a crowd of journalists surrounded him. "Mr. President, how will you respond to Judge Lambert's accusations? How will you defend yourself in this case? Is there a risk of you being removed from office?" Traoré smiled calmly and simply said, "Justice will prevail sooner or later." The journalists wanted to ask more questions, but Traoré politely made his way through them. One of them, a young female journalist, boldly stepped in front of him. "Mr. President, our sources say Judge Lambert has been having secret meetings with a major oil company. Do you have any comment on this?" Traoré stopped and looked at her carefully. "What is your name?" "Aisha Coulibaly, from Burkina Faso." "That's a brave question, Ms. Coulibaly. Today, we will see the difference between courage and cowardice." At the courtroom door, special security forces stopped him. "We need to check your briefcase, Mr. President." Traoré opened his briefcase. Inside were just a few files and a small voice recorder. "What is this for?" asked the security guard, pointing to the voice recorder. "For history to be written correctly," Traoré replied. The security guard hesitated, then said something to his superior over his radio. "Mr. President, they've asked me to escort you." Traoré nodded. "Of course, do your duty." The courtroom was completely full. Diplomats, journalists, government officials, and ordinary citizens had gathered to witness this historic moment. The room fell silent and the doors closed. Ibrahim Traoré walked toward the defense table. Judge Lambert, in his black robe, looked down at Traoré from his high bench. There was a gleam of victory in his eyes. Two assistants sat beside him, both watching the surroundings with serious expressions. "Mr. Ibrahim Traoré, you face serious charges here today," Lambert began. "You are accused of abusing your power, violating constitutional order, and endangering national security." The room fell silent again. Traoré was still smiling. Judge Lambert opened a file. "I have some documents about you here. According to these documents, you..." Judge Lambert suddenly stopped. He couldn't see the documents he was expecting in the file. "One moment," he said, shuffling through the papers. Traoré leaned forward, politely. "Is there a problem, Your Honor?" Lambert angrily opened another file, then another. The confident expression on his face was slowly turning to panic. "The files, the documents, where are they?" he muttered. His assistant handed him a note. Lambert read the note and became even more agitated. His face started to redden, beads of sweat appearing on his forehead. "We are experiencing some technical issues," said Lambert, trying to steady his voice. I'm calling a short recess. We will continue in 10 minutes. 10 minutes later, Lambert returned to the bench. He had composed himself, but the concern in his eyes was still evident. "The court will now continue," he said sternly. "Mr. Traoré, you—" Traoré stood up and took out his file from his briefcase. "With your permission, Your Honor, I would like to present my defense." Lambert tried to buy time by organizing his files. Of course. But first, I must read the full charges." "We all know what the charges are, Your Honor," said Traoré. "The real issue is why and by whom these charges were brought forward." Traoré opened his file and pulled out a document. "This is a statement of your bank accounts, Judge Lambert. In the last 6 months, $2.4 million have been deposited into your Swiss account from Global Oil Company." The courtroom erupted in commotion. Journalists were rapidly taking notes, whispers rising. Lambert's face turned pale. This is slander," he stammered. Traoré showed another document. "And these are the correspondences between you and Global Oil's CEO, Richard Miller. It appears you promised to sell Burkina Faso's oil resources very cheaply, Your Honor." Judge Lambert's hand was trembling. He took a deep breath and looked at Traoré angrily. "These are all fake. You altered the documents." Traoré shook his head. "No, I didn't." Then he took out the voice recorder from his briefcase and pressed a button. Judge Lambert's voice echoed through the courtroom. "Yes, we will take down Traoré. The documents are ready. On the court day, I will find him guilty and remove him from office. Don't rush the oil deal. Everything will fall into place." The courtroom suddenly went ice cold. Lambert froze behind the bench. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again, but no sound came out. "This recording is from your secret meeting at the French embassy 3 days ago," said Traoré. "We have the entire conversation, Your Honor." Lambert finally gathered himself. "This is illegal. Recording me secretly is a crime." Traoré smiled. "Normally, you would be right. However, Article 24 of the National Security Law states that in crimes against the state, such recordings can be used as evidence, and you, Your Honor, have committed treason." The room erupted. Journalists jumped to their feet. Cameras were rolling continuously. Judge Lambert looked around desperately. He had no allies, no supporters left. "This is a coup," Lambert shouted. "Soldiers, security, arrest this man." No one moved. The courtroom doors opened and a group of soldiers entered. Lambert looked at them hopefully, but the soldiers went directly to Traoré's side and saluted him. "What are your orders, Mr. President?" asked General Cohn, the commander of the soldiers. Traoré looked at Lambert. "Judge Claude Lambert, you are under arrest for treason, accepting bribes, and abuse of judicial power." General Cohn advanced toward Lambert. Lambert backed away in panic. "No, you have no authority to arrest me. I am a judge." "Not anymore," said Traoré. "The National Security Council has just voted to suspend all your powers and those of your accomplices." Lambert looked around desperately. "This is a conspiracy. You're all being deceived. Global Oil wants to invest in this country. They'll create jobs, help the economy." Traoré approached Lambert and spoke in a calm voice, so calm that only Lambert could hear him. Jobs. What kind of jobs? Cheap labor? They'll steal our resources and give us pennies in return? Is that your plan? Lambert was trembling. You don't understand. This is how the world works. Small countries can also live with dignity, Your Honor. Independence is not just a piece of paper. It's a right that must be earned every day. As the soldiers took Lambert away, the room was still in shock. Journalists were glued to their phones, racing to announce this extraordinary event to the world. Traoré stepped up to the bench. "Dear citizens of Burkina Faso," he began, "what happened today is unfortunate, but we must cleanse the corruption in our justice system. For years, Western powers and companies have bought people from within to steal our country's wealth and exploit our resources. Today, we have exposed this betrayal." The room erupted in standing applause. Traoré raised his hand, requesting silence. But this is just the beginning. Many officials like Lambert have made deals to sell our country. We will identify all of them and bring them to justice. Young journalist Aisha Coulibaly called out from the front row, "Mr. President, what will happen to global oil? Will the agreements with them be canceled?" Traoré nodded. "We are reviewing all agreements. Those that are not in Burkina Faso's interests will be canceled. No foreign company can buy our resources cheaper than we value them." Another journalist asked, "What about international reactions? How will Western countries respond?" Traoré smiled. "They protect their interests and we protect ours. We want a respectful and equal relationship. No country can interfere in our internal affairs or dictate our policies anymore." The room filled with applause again. After completing his speech, Traoré left with General Cohn. Outside the courthouse, a large crowd had gathered. The news had spread quickly, and people had come to support Traoré. "Long live independent Burkina Faso!" The crowd shouted. "Long live Traoré!" Traoré approached the crowd with modest steps. He raised his hand, asking for silence. "My dear citizens," he began, "today's victory is not mine, but Burkina Faso's. We've removed one corruption from our justice system, but we have much more work to do. Our country is rich, yet our people remain poor. We will end this contradiction. Our resources will be used for our future and our children's future." The crowd cheered again. After speaking briefly, Traoré got into his car. General Cohn sat beside him. "Congratulations, Mr. President," said the general. "You made history today." Traoré looked out the window. "Thank you, General, but this is just the beginning. The hard part starts now. Companies like Global Oil don't give up easily. Neither do the governments that support them." "Will they threaten us?" "Probably. First come economic sanctions, then media attacks. They'll label us dictator, undemocratic, human rights violator. Then they'll find and support an opposition leader no one has heard of." General Cohn frowned. "So, what will we do?" Traoré looked at him. "We will resist. Like the right to life, freedom is not won without struggle. We are ready for this struggle." As the car headed toward the presidential palace, Traoré closed his eyes for a moment. He was tired, but at peace. Today, he had won a small but important victory for Burkina Faso. At the entrance to the palace, his old history teacher Musa was waiting for him. Traoré immediately got out of the car and embraced his teacher. "I watched you today," Musa said proudly. "You remember the lessons I taught you well. True power is the courage to defend justice." Traoré nodded. "And you taught me another lesson, my teacher. The easiest way to destroy a country is to buy its justice. Today, I saw once again how true that lesson is." Musa looked into his former student's eyes. "Be careful, Ibrahim. There will always be people like Lambert. You must always stay vigilant." As they entered the palace together, Traoré was thoughtful. "This is just the beginning, teacher. Global oil and the powers behind it won't accept this defeat easily." "What will you do?" "I'll tell the people the truth, how our resources have been plundered, how our justice system has been bought, and then we'll strengthen our economy. We'll build our own industry, process our own oil." Musa smiled. A difficult path, but the right one. That night, in his study, Traoré examined all the details of the Lambert case. He had uncovered all the plans Global Oil had made to seize his country's oil resources. But this was just the tip of the iceberg. There were darker secrets deeper down. His phone rang. It was Ahmed Diallo, the chairman of the West African Union. "Congratulations, Ibrahim," said Diallo. "Today, you defended not only yourself, but the honor of all Africa." Traoré humbly replied, "Thank you, Ahmed. But this is just the beginning. The real struggle starts now." "I know," said Diallo, "and you're not alone. The entire continent is watching you, drawing inspiration from you. This might be our last chance for true independence." Traoré looked out the window at Burkina Faso's star-filled sky. "Yes, perhaps it is. And we will make the most of this chance. For future generations, for our children, for Africa." After hanging up, he returned to the files on his desk. He had a long night ahead. He would examine Global Oil's documents, identify other corrupt officials, prepare new economic plans. Just as he was about to start working, there was a knock at the door. It was Captain Traoré, the head of presidential security. "Mr. President, we have important information," Traoré said anxiously. "We've traced Lambert's arrest. We've detected his last phone call with Global Oil's CEO, Richard Miller." "What did they discuss?" Miller told Lambert, "If you fail, we'll activate Plan B. Our analysts are investigating what this means." Traoré frowned. "Plan B? It must be something more serious than economic sanctions." "Possibly, sir, but we don't have definite information at this time." Traoré stood up. "Put all security units on alert. Check the borders. Monitor all suspicious movements. And put Lambert under stricter interrogation." "Yes, Mr. President." After Traoré left, Traoré went back to the window. Burkina Faso's night was quiet, but it was a deceptive quiet. A storm was approaching. Global Oil and its supporters wouldn't accept this defeat easily. "Plan B," Traoré muttered. "Then let's prepare our own plan." He returned to his desk and began taking notes. Africa's wealth would now serve the people of Africa, and Ibrahim Traoré would be at the forefront of this struggle. Justice was won by fighting when necessary, and Burkina Faso was not alone in this fight for justice. The entire continent stood with them. Traoré put down his pen with a smile. Yes, difficult days lay ahead, but the price of freedom and independence was always high, and Burkina Faso was ready to pay that price.